Chris, thanks for joining me on today's Spotlight. It's Chris Griffin from Team Support Healthcare. Chris, introduce us to your business, please.
Yeah, so my name's Chris Griffin. I'm the Managing Director for Team Support Healthcare. We are a temporary provider for staffing into the NHS.
Great. So tell me more about that. What makes you stand out from your competition?
So Team Support Healthcare have got really good relationships, a really good reputation for providing high quality staff, predominantly nursing and theatre staff into the NHS in the West Midlands. We've been around for 10 years, so the majority of our clients know us inside and out. I've seen people get married, I've seen people move on, I've seen people have children, that sort of stuff, and those sorts of relationships you can't always buy, especially in recruitment, which is sometimes viewed as a bit transactional and a little bit more agencies taking. I like to think that we've got that sort of close relationship with our clients where we're seen as almost part of the team in some cases.
Great stuff. So going for 10 years, where's the business going? Next 5, maybe a bit longer, maybe a bit shorter, you choose.
Oh, right, okay, that's a bit of a tough one. So the business has been around for 10 years. It's been for a bit of a unsettling period for the last 12 months, changing owners. I've recently acquired the business in July, so it's almost you go for a change, you get new owners, you go for another change, you've got another new owner, and everyone's got their own spin and everyone's got their own way of doing things. So there's been a lot of challenge and been a lot of change quite recently. But my job is to maintain the status quo in terms of the people we've got working in the business. Some of them have been with the business for years and are fantastic, but also find a way to sort of diversify what we do. Like I said, we've got really good relationships in the West Midlands. We're quite well known for doing a good job. Now we need to try and bring that to the masses and open that up to other clients in other areas and other regions, because we know we've got that sort of foundation.
Yeah, great stuff.
So yeah, I was going to say, is there a 5-year plan? I don't think you can have a 5-year plan in recruitment. I think the public sector and nursing, NHS, that sort of environment, there's a little bit of a safety net in that the NHS isn't going to go anywhere in the next 5 years' time. However, the market's changing all the time. Things are different. You've got agency caps coming in social work, which is another area I've worked in previously. You've got people working at cap rates, highest demand, aging population, various different challenges, which means that in the next sort of couple of years, things could be dramatically different from how they are now.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's always changing, that's for sure. So what's been your biggest learning so far as a business owner, would you say?
That's a really tough one, because I've worked at a high level in businesses for the last sort of 5-6 years. But I guess once it's your name above the door, it just adds a slightly different dimension to it, because you can have sounding boards, you can have people you bounce off, and colleagues and peers and people you go to for advice, but ultimately you make the decision, and if it all goes to the wind, you're the only one who can be held responsible, and it can be quite a lonely place at times. But yeah, I think that's also one of the exciting things, because now I'm not executing someone else's vision. I now need to make sure I've got my own vision of where we need to be and where we need to be going and what sort of direction we want to go in as a business. And then I need to go and ultimately make that happen. So yeah, it's all on my shoulders, which is a double-edged sword. Absolutely.
What would you say has been your biggest challenge so far?
I think because of how things have happened over the last sort of about 18 months, I think the biggest challenge has been that I'm not going anywhere. The previous owners had the business for a year, made some changes, sort of yeah, it's a tough one. You're then coming in on the back of a year of someone else being in charge and wanting to put their own stamp on something, and then coming in and putting your stamp on it and going, well, look, this is the last time it's going to change, when they've already been through 3 or 4 sets of changes in the last sort of year prior. So making sure that you've got staff that are engaged, and unfortunately you don't always get people on board. You don't always keep people on the journey, and people decide that they've had enough, and they don't like the change and the constant moving around. But it's reinforcing to the guys that do stay is, look, things are always going to change, but we need to the big infrastructure stuff we need to do now, and we need to do it quickly, because that's going to be what's going to set the foundation for the next 5-10 years, and will allow us to get where we need it to be. So stick with work as possible. Let's make it as smooth as possible, and then we're into the new world, if you like, and we'll have to adapt and get used to working in that way.
Right. With the benefit of the knowledge you've got now, if you were sitting down having a conversation with your 18-year-old self, what would you say?
Well, my 18-year-old self was a very different person. At that time, I was in the army, so I was serving in the forces. I used to stand outside Buckingham Palace and do Queen's Guard. So my 18-year-old self would never have envisaged me sitting here in a suit, doing a 9-to-5 job, working in an office. So I don't think anyone ever gets into recruitment on the belief that they want to be a recruiter. I think most people just fall into it. And I was fortunate enough to find a career that I actually enjoy and I actually like, and I'm pretty good at. So yeah, I guess telling my 18-year-old self, you never know what's going to happen, is probably the right advice.
Right. I think that's absolutely bang on. And if you had to isolate one piece of advice that you'd give to other business owners watching this video, Chris, what would it be?
I think always being open to opportunity. I'm a serial networker, and I will go and sit and I'm almost like that annoying person at the bus stop who stands there and starts talking to people. I'll literally talk to anyone about anything and have a chat. And I think that's where some of my ideas have come from in the past. Just being open to having a conversation, sitting there listening and understand. If you don't understand, try and understand what's being said and why and what the drivers are behind it.
Yeah.
And then see if you can apply that to what you do. Like I said, some of the best ideas I've had have come from random interactions with people who've sort of sparked a bit of a thought and an idea off, and then before you know it, that becomes, oh, let's have a look at doing X, Y, and Z, whatever that may be. Yeah. So I think being open to opportunity and never shutting a conversation down, regardless of whether it's any benefit to you or not, I think it's probably really good advice to most people.
Yeah, brilliant. Yeah, I would agree with that, definitely. Thank you. And so when we come on to the business and finding out more about it, Chris, are there any offers that you'd like to highlight here? What's the best next steps in terms of somebody wanting to find out more or do more with you?
Well, as I said, we're always open to opportunity. We're always open to looking at new markets, new avenues. If there are any agency staff out there who are not registered with Team Sport Healthcare or never heard from us, pick up the phone, give us a call, have a chat with one of our guys. If you like what you hear, then we're quite happy to come out and get you registered, get you signed up as quickly as we can. Our compliance process is pretty swift, actually, and we are very good. We're audited. We've got 95% our last audit, which is the Platinum Pass. Yeah, in terms of offers, I think for us, as I said, I've owned the business since July. For us, it's now about how do we recognise and reward loyalty in our temporary staff. That's something that not many agencies do. Agency staff tend to be seen as a resource that agencies can use, and they'll stay forever and they'll continue working and doing whatever they're doing as long as they've got no reason to leave. Mine is more, how do we treat our agency staff as our own workforce and make sure we look after people? And again, I think we're always open to having those conversations. So we offer normal things like mandatory training, referral bonuses, all the normal stuff that an agency would do. But we're looking at things now like e-vouchers, where we can, rather than giving people cash or whatever, we can reward people in different ways and say, well, okay, look, here's a reusable link for X amount of retailers in a certain category. If you want to go and use that or share that around your friends or whatever it may be, and how we can. Cash is great and everyone loves cash, and that's fantastic. But sometimes giving someone or passing on a voucher or giving someone access to a voucher or allowing them to use that is an easier way of giving people support without making them feel that they need support, if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. Great. So all your details are below this video, obviously. So get in touch that way to find out more.
Perfect. Yeah.
Brilliant. Chris, thanks for sharing your insights with us today. Best of luck with the business going forward. And yeah, take care.
Andy, thanks very much for your time. Appreciate it.
Cheers.